Tea time with Runepest.
Hey, Tempest.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going very well. I have my beer prepared, which is obvious. I mean, tea. I have my tea prepared. Cup of tea.
You get a haircut?
No.
Looks... You got a black shirt on, though.
Yeah, I had to wash my Pink Floyd shirt. I kind of abused it. Wore it for 3 days. Like, I love this shirt. Like, okay, it's time.
And your plant is still alive. We can barely see it there in the background.
So why wouldn't it be alive? I take insult at that.
Because your last one died and the one before that died.
It was super old. It was just old.
And what kind of tea are you drinking?
It's a special Asian golden tea.
I don't even want to know what that means. I got some sencha today, so we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's like drinking compost. It's great.
It's like drinking compost. Okay.
Yeah, no, I should probably spin that the other way, but whatever. Opening day is tomorrow. All right. Well, it's been a while. We haven't not been doing many podcasts lately. I don't feel like there's been too much to talk about. But with the end of season 1, that means we should be getting a end of season balance patch here in the next.
That is correct. I also found this out like 10 minutes ago.
You did?
Yeah, you told me.
So we should be getting an end of season balance patch sometime, I'm guessing, based off of what we've been hearing and what we're told by the roadmap and all that. So I want to go through a little bit and talk about what we would like to see today, and then we are going to have a special guest for the second half. Arrow's going to come on and talk a little bit about tournament. Arrow did this nice big 19-page data tournament presentation for KG.
It is very well written. I glanced at it.
You didn't even know it existed till 10 minutes ago.
No,
but yeah.
I think 2 minutes ago you told me.
So prepared you are. So let's just jump in and talk what we would like to see balance-wise, things like that. Where are you at in the meta? Are you enjoying it? Is it okay? Is there there's some things that you really want to see changed? What's going on with Tempest and Mythgard these days?
Well, obviously there are, but I kind of feel I don't know where to even start. I do have a lot of issues with certain cards, but the last patch kind of did a lot. I think. Well, not a lot, but it really made me kind of happy because before that it was kind of terrible. I don't know. Where should we even start? Like talk about specific cards or what?
Whatever you want to talk about here.
Well, let's start with Plague Maidens. I have a good nerf for that card. It's called just deleting it. What do you think about that?
Assuming they don't do that. Yeah, I think Plague Maidens is one of these interesting cards, right? They tried their best to nerf Plague Maidens, but they actually made it better in every deck except for
Yellow green versus yellow green, I guess.
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, so now FOC, it doesn't damage your artifacts. Now, you don't damage yourself. It didn't do anything except help out multiple yellow green decks and make them, give them more options. And so,
it would be interesting if you had like Plague Maidens that were different colors, like I don't know, orange and purple or something. For example, I don't think many people would complain, but since being like yellow and green, which is like both insane, it's just I don't know. It's what more? How many more AOE or good cards do you need?
Yeah, I wonder if at one point I thought cannot be protected, right? That would be a way of dealing with it. But with all these cradle and life gain and everything else, I'm not even sure that's enough. Like, can you just make it
I actually thought it would be nice if it just uses 1 mana to deal 1 damage to a minion.
like a
Single.
utility action, right?
No, it could be even stronger than that. You spend a mana to do 1 damage, but to a single minion.
Yeah, or you could just, or if you didn't want to make it that, you just make it a utility action. It can do it once. Like, I don't know if it probably makes it not playable.
I mean, to be fair, I would just delete the card. I don't think the card.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen, right? So, I mean, trying to make it something isn't. But Plague Maidens is clearly
1
exceptionally.
damage to an enemy minion for 1 mana. Fine, it'll be obviously weaker, but still.
Yeah, you probably have to buff it a little bit because at that point.
I don't think so because you don't have to protect or mend it then.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's worse than that blue-red card.
Maybe it does 1 damage to itself and 1 damage to a minion. I hate that card. That card is so dumb. I think that card is probably the main reason yellow-green is such a issue.
No, that's not true. Yellow-green is an issue because yellow-green has so many overbearing mythics. Like you got Murmur, you got Sapo, you got Calculus, you got Iku, you got Stag. I mean, we can go on and on. You got
No,
Harpy.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I know that. I'm just saying, like, with all of those super good cards, you also have this, which is another way of dealing AoE and, just the get out of jail free card. And that's just, even this was too much, and this is just like pushing it over. I feel like, I don't know, this can be wrong, but maybe if the Plague Maidens wasn't a thing, I feel like the yellow-green hate would be much less. Not saying it wouldn't exist, it would still exist, but wouldn't be. This is just too much, a drop that spilled the cup, something like that.
Yeah, yellow-green has everything. It has draw. I mean, I agree. I think if you nerf Plague Maidens, yellow-green's worse, but I still think it's still the best deck. Like, if Plague Maidens didn't exist,
It is.
yellow-green is the best deck.
It's true. That is true.
Right? So, like, I would love to see multiple nerfs, and you got to go at this thing hard. If me, like, Murmur's got to get nerfed, Sapo's got to get nerfed. Like, you have to find a way to hit multiple mythics significantly. Like, I would be totally fine personally. Like, if Murmur went to 8 and Sapo went to 9, like,
I would be fine with that.
both of those would be absolutely fine to me. And yes, we're saying Safe House just amplifies the problems in this game with YG. Like not having to play cards and getting rewarded for not playing cards and stalling up the game. Safe House is not the real criminal. YG has always been, I think, tier 1 deck. It's just boring, and so we don't see it all the time in ladder. But anytime we see tournaments, we see YG everywhere. But now with Safe House, it's just absolutely excruciating for rewarding the best deck in the game.
It's kind of ridiculous that it's such a good ability for even for just free energy. I thought like 4 should, even before it was released, it was 2 energy, right? Something like that with the alliance also too. I always thought it should be immediately at 4, and it. But so free is obviously insane, and then getting that stupid token, which is so good every 5 turns again, like just I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, it's just bonkers. So I mean, that's one thing, right? YG is a problem. But it's a microcosm of the problem that is Safe House. Like Safe House is by far the best path in this game, right? Not even close.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit later about tournament, right? And tournament data when we get Arrow on here, but Arrow's data is going to support like the people who brought Safe House did better than the people who didn't significantly.
Did we have anyone that didn't bring Safe House to?
I think there were some people that didn't bring Safe House, but not in the top 8, clearly, right?
Did they have a stroke or something?
It's crazy. And then the people who didn't, ban Safe House did worse too. So like there's so much that's not surprising in the data itself. Like Safe House rewarding not playing minions, giving this token that can just block things for free, right? So you don't have to worry about things. I don't even know how you begin to fix Safe House other than
It's literally a free minion that's a 2/1, right? It's so good. No, actually, it's a 2/2. Oh
yeah,
my god, it's a 2/2.
for free. For free. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know how you begin. Like maybe the pursuit gives the token and that's it. Like would that be okay? You still get
I mean, compared to like Turn of Seasons and stuff like that, it's
yeah.
yeah.
Just give the path is so pushed with the draw, like taking away the token completely, other than pursuit, would be fine by me, and I still think
I
it would
wouldn't.
be
I
better
wouldn't.
than
Yeah,
Seasons.
I don't think that will happen because it's like say an interesting path like Alliance. It's a new concept, right? But definitely some tweaks. I actually wouldn't mind if the token was 1 mana and energy was changed to 4 in both Alliance and Rebellion. But I think that's too much. That's not going to happen. I would do it though, if I could.
Yeah, I would be totally fine. I don't think, to be honest, that Alliance needs to be changed to 4. I think if you just change the token to 1 for Alliance, it's okay. But I would be totally fine with Safe House going to 4 energy and the token going to 1. I think the aggro you get 1 or 2 draws from max, right? And after that, the game, if you don't win, it's over, right? But
It's true.
like 4 is not as relevant for that one, but it's brutal.
What do you think about this chat idea from Bed? Like every pair gives like extra stuff on 5 turns. Like Rainbow gives you an extra coin. Fires gives you an extra forgeling, let's say, stuff like that.
Might as well at this point. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think like paths are really hard to balance. And I almost wish that there were no paths in this game. Like that's kind of where I'm at, like with how hard it is to balance the paths and how hard it is to introduce new paths. Um, I've been
It would
tinkering.
probably be better, but paths are fun, right?
They are fun. They're unique. They add
They're-
they add something to the game. I get it, but I at this point like wish there just weren't paths. Right? The game itself is good enough with how it's structured that I feel like paths detract and make the game more unbalanced than they increase the game.
It's
But
true, but
that's
they
not
again they have so much diversity and options, and it's and fun. Like I don't know, could say that it's not like necessary evil, but like a good evil. Let's put it like that.
yeah, it's not going to happen. But
Yeah, obviously it's not gonna happen. Even
right,
I
I mean,
wouldn't do that because paths again too much fun.
but like Seasons is awful right now. There's no reason. I know you are the lone representative on Seasons Island.
I don't think it's good. I just don't hate it as much as everyone else. But
You own
everyone else
100%
hates
of
it
the
like
stock, and right now it's worth a penny at the most. I get that. Like, you know, that's you have it. Seasons is awful.
it is.
And, and it may be better than Journey. Like,
So I remember long ago when I know the reason. You don't have to say it again, but I know. But yeah, I was so like annoyed. Why did you nerf the stupid tree? And again, I know the reason. It's just like, but seasons. It's seasons.
I mean, to be fair, like Seasons doesn't need to be top path, right? Seasons can be in the bottom half, right? It should be. It's basic, whatever.
Well,
It's
but as you said, like you would remove paths, but seasons is basically like no path. It's like the most standard of all things, apart from winter fragile, right?
yes,
The
yeah,
heal one, all minions heal 1 life, bleh, and draw a card is like, yeah, it's just basic.
yep.
That's
It
why
is.
that's kind of why I didn't really hate it as much because I didn't have to make so. When you make a deck with seasons, you don't have to make like a specialized deck in a sense. Although now with Rebellion Safe House, you can do whatever you want. So I guess that's kind of doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, um, just thinking through things. So I think we're both agreement that YG needs to get hit, right? Significantly. YG is by far the top deck. I don't care what the data says. We saw it in the tournament. We've seen it on top player on ladder. And it's just not fun. Like, and the other thing, it's just not fun. When you're playing YG, it's not fun to play against, and it's not fun to play. Like, both of those things are just not good, in my opinion.
Even I had like a bunch of games versus YG, and I generally, when I make decks, one of the crucial elements is that it can beat YG. So,
Yeah.
but even
It-
decks that I felt like are really good versus YG or strong versus YG, I still had, games where they just either crushed it because they drew like this and this and that, or they kind of took the victory at the very end because the deck is just, it's almighty.
Yeah. And the decks that are good against YG generally aren't that good against other things. That's the other problem. Like, I think blue, orange, rainbow is really good against YG. But as the tournament says, like, it's not that good against other things. Other aggro, it's horrible against mid range, not that great.
It's kind of funny because YG should be super weak to aggro decks, but because of Rebellion, it doesn't care.
And also because it has 75,000 life gain. And that gets me to another thing about YG, right? YG has way too much access to life gain. Like, between the Quetzals and Harvester and Cradle, there needs to be something that is done to YG to where it doesn't have so much access to life gain. I can't stand Cradle. It's not a card I like. I don't like how it makes every minion into a big threat, and how easy it is to make them into big threats because of how much access to life gain Yellow has. And so I would love to see them trying to tone down both Quetzal and Harvester.
Or probably Cradle just.
And even Cradle, dropping one on each of those on the amount of life that you gained would be a benefit to me. And also I think really push that deck because it is so good against aggro because it just has life gain everywhere. Like, it is so easy to gain 20 life in a game with YG, and that's totally not good for a control deck to have that much access to life gain. So,
which I guess would be fine if you didn't have board clears.
Yeah, has
But
everything.
it does, yeah.
So, another deck that you kind of pushed, I kind of pushed in different ways, that I think people brought to the tournament a lot, that I also think needs to get looked at, is red purple. Red purple safe house. Again, safe house is the problem here. But red just gives so much good card draw. And it's crazy to me. Like Ichor Feast. We both have been proponents that Ichor Feast needs to see a nerf, I think. So I'll be interested to hear, what are your thoughts on how to nerf Ichor Feast?
I think the card should be like completely changed into not something that draws, just like completely something else. I mean, I guess you don't want me to say just delete it, which I actually want to say, but
that doesn't help. Yeah, I know. We would love to see things just gone.
yeah,
but that's
just
not
I don't know,
really
change it. I don't know. Just like does something crazy. Like I'm just making stuff up. Like I don't know, divination 2 and heal for 4. I don't know, whatever. Just just something that's not drawing cards, because I don't think it should be a good card. Or at the very least, it should be something that's like could be super detrimental. But I don't know what would that be. For example, if you lose a life, for the total mana cost of minions you draw, it still doesn't matter if you play it in a mono red because every minion is cheap, right? But
Yep.
it would actually make it where the card would make the card almost unplayable in, let's say, purple red. Because, like, let's say you draw 3 reasons, you lose 18 life, right? So that would be a huge gamble. So I guess it would only be played in small red aggro.
Right.
But it's just like too much. The card is it's ridiculous. In any card game, that would be ridiculous.
3 cards for 3 mana and a drawback that red doesn't care about, right? It's crazy. Like red doesn't care about losing life.
It's
Like
like those drawbacks in Magic or other games when you have like a small minion that has, I don't know, 2/1 rush or 1 mana, but the drawback is you lose 2 life, and you're like, you don't care. The game is gonna last for 5 turns. You can lose 10 life. You don't care.
and red has so much access to life gain too. Like that's the thing. Like between pups and between extract lives and Serapis, like 3 life, I can get that back, no problem, no big deal.
That's kind of funny. You play versus like dead deck, and you clear all the minions. They like use 2 or 3 cores, and you still manage to strike. And you're like, okay, they got no more cards. I'm doing good. I got like 3 minions. I'm at 5 life. That's fine. I can, they still got nothing. I can win. And then you look at their health. They're like at 33 health. Like, how the hell did red come to this? I don't understand what happened.
It's so ridiculous, like how red gains life and knocks you down life, and you don't even realize it. Like, I mean, Ichor Feast to me should be something like draw 3 cards, your opponent gains 8 life, something crazy. Like, there's
I don't think it should be a good card at all. Like or something. Just make a
even gain 6 life, whatever. Like, you don't care about at all about you losing life, but you do care so much more about your opponent gaining life. So just like give them 6 life, you get 3 cards, something like that, and it still would be played, I think, in red, just because of how explosive red can be. Like, but at least then it wouldn't benefit you to the same extent. There's a huge drawback, potentially. But yeah, it's that card is crazy, and yeah, we don't see a way of changing it.
I just don't like changing stuff like this. Again, I guess the Plague Maiden's idea could work, but like Ichor Feast, I'm just like I would just give up on the cards. Ban it. Done.
Yeah, I know. And then the other card in red for me that needs to get changed is Scylla. We saw it a lot in the top decks.
Yeah.
Scylla is a problem because it's a threat that is really hard to deal with board pressure, and it's really hard to deal with because it takes away your control options out of the opponent's hand. And it can do so without even having a drawback to you if you have no cards in hand, which makes no sense. Like, why does Scylla function if you don't have to discard a card? Like,
There have been issues in card games, so you have like stuff like that it says discard and you don't have to discard if you don't have. But there are other card games that have you have to do this if you want to do this. So you would have to discard the card. I would like that to be the case in Mythgard, that you have to discard the card, but you can't just like discard your opponent's cards for free if you have nothing.
I
But
would like
even with that, I don't know, the card is still strong.
it's still too strong. Like, it shouldn't have stag level can only take 4 damage, also give it regen 2, and can control your opponent's hand for 7. Like, it is the opposite of what red ever needs. Red does
I
not.
don't think Scylla is like. I had like this rant on one stream. I had multiple rants. Oh, no, anyway, this one specific rant. I think like I had 15 cards I would like nerfed, and I didn't put Scylla in there, not because I think it's okay or whatever. I just like I feel like there are much more important cards, which is kind of funny because you said this should be nerfed. I'm like, yeah, but whatever. It's not important. We have Murmur, we have Plague Maidens, we have blah.
I think Scylla is on that level. To me, like, Scylla is a top 8 most annoying, overpowering card right now to me. Like, it would easily make my first cut just because of how impactful it is and how uninteractive it is, because it affects your opponent's hand into where they can't have options of dealing with it.
Man, did we really get so bored with talking about Believer that we don't even want to talk about it anymore?
Believer's whatever. Believer is Believer. I don't think
it's kind of funny. Every deck made has like 10 answers to Believer, so Believer doesn't seem so strong. Like with every deck built around it.
You just have answers for Believer. You just have to. Like, it is warped meta in a way that whatever. Believer is a card that we didn't see a lot in the tournament, so there's like no way that this card's gonna get nerfed, right?
Yeah.
because lots of people realize that every deck's gonna have an answer to Believer, and two, Believer is very random, right? It can win games, but it's also just not that good if they have an answer to it. So we saw people in the
I mean,
tournament.
it's not bad losing a racer or trapezist or ignition. So
Yeah.
It's not like the end of the world if someone has an answer, right? But yeah, whatever.
For sure. But they just, assumed every deck was going to have an answer to Believer, and so therefore didn't even need to bring it because it was affecting the gameplay that much. So anyway, it absolutely does, Lindo. It still limits the color combinations. You can't play orange yellow on ladder. You can't play, blue purple very well on ladder. Well, you can play purple, anything blue orange on ladder very well. Like unless you have a couple niche things and you don't worry about it, right? I mean, I was going to play blue orange in the tournament, believing that the only way to do so is to ban red, right? Because it doesn't have answers. So it's very true. It does warp ladder. All right, we got about 5 minutes here, and we're going to switch. What else would you like to see in the Tempest balance patch? Are there cards that you would like to see buffed? Should they even spend time buffing cards, or
No, I don't feel anything should be buffed. Like we have too much insane cards. Buffing should be. We had buffs and then they never really end well.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just nerf. No buffs for now. Man, I should have had this list before. Let's say the Hulkan Assembly, and I really don't like that card.
Hulkan Assembly. I think there's a good chance that that's a card they have. Garen, wins with YGFOC. It has to be on their radar. That card creates way too much value, and it's got lots of health. It's really hard to deal with at the same time. So like,
You did mention Murmur, but you didn't mention Calculus, and I'm pretty sure you also agree that card is.
yeah, Calculus should be 6 or 7. Murmur should be 8. Perfect Grade should be 9. Sapo should be 9. Scylla, if it's not buff or nerf, should be 9. Like, make this game to where you can play mid-range non-mythic cards and not feel like you're getting punished for playing mid-range,
You got
non-mythic
Tomakia,
cards.
for example, also.
Yeah, Gig should be 7 or 8. I mean, I would love to see.
I actually would like to see not the increase in mana, but the increase in life. So like not 4 or more, but like 5 or more.
I don't want to see access to something that just wipes out mid-range so easily. It's still at 6, right? So like if I want to play a 5 cost Jotun, like knowing that
Yeah, I
Gig's
agree.
going to go immediately. So I would like to see it buffed in cost for that very reason. Like you just can't play mid-range in this game at all because there's just too many answers at that mythic level that cost 6 or 7. And so there's a huge power jump in this game from, 3 to 4 in some colors, right? But you can't even play cards that cost 4 or 5 that are big minions lots of times.
You know
Unless
what could be interesting? Now this is a hot idea. Sorry for interrupting, but like you know how Horn banishes itself, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You could like change that to a keyword, let's say legendary. Doesn't matter. So whenever a card plays it, it banishes itself. So you can add that to Murmurs and Gigantomachias and some certain cards like that to prevent them from being played twice.
Or we could just make recursion not so easy, right? But that's probably not going to happen. Like, I know you would love to see Bold Mountain go. Like,
Bold
you were
Mountain
in
and
this list.
Documentarian. I don't think those two cards are good for the game.
Yeah, Bold Mountain.
I know people don't play Bold Mountain a lot, which is kind of weird for me, but because you have Documentarian. But those two cards, there's. I mean, everyone remembers before when you had games where people played 4 Misanthropias in one game. You know, one player plays 4 Misanthropias, and it's just like, oh my god, stop! And then you get a mountain, you can't play around it. So dumb, such a stupid card. Both those cards are dumb.
And yet you like doublespeak. So like doublespeak is like the way of playing 4 Misanthropias now. Like for somebody who likes doublespeak, it makes no sense to me. I mean, that's another card I just wish was out of here. Like I don't want to.
I wouldn't mind it being gone if those other cards are gone.
Yeah, me too. Like
I play doublespeak because I think it's fun, but I mean, I'm playing also because I think it's good in certain decks that make it super good. Yeah, it's a strong card. What can I do, dude? I play. I have to play. Like, what am I gonna do? Not play Turso, for example, or Murmur when I play green. Yes, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah,
I still don't feel like they're. I still don't feel Murmur is, fair.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm gonna play it.
yep. I want to make a disclaimer here because it sounds like I'm pretty down on the game, and that's partly true. Like, but Mythgard is still like absolutely by far away my favorite card game that is on the market. Like, I'm just think that Mythgard has become Greedguard lately. Like, it's just the greediest decks that you can play is actually being rewarded, and the meta is just not very fun. So it's warped to where you can because of that you have options of only playing aggro or playing the most greedy decks or playing some crazy OTK decks, and nothing between can exist. No mid range, nothing, no mid control, no aggro mid. Like, none of those can exist. You have options of playing are the most greedy thing that you can possibly think of, the most aggro thing you can possibly think of, or the most OTK thing that you can possibly think of. And anything, if it's not completely excessively one of those three things, can't exist right now in Mythgard.
You heard it
And
here. Rune wants a mill deck.
that's just so unfun because you can't do anything except that. And even casual. Like, I played casual yesterday because champion is all messed up. Where you actually,
side.
I hit champion and then you actually lose Ba by playing games instead of gaining Ba right now. So like, I have a negative Ba after playing games. So negative. No reason right now for me to play. So I played. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna choose Q casual because I want to get my games in and get my coin cap. Through my first 3 games, I played YP aggro on casual, and it's just like this. It doesn't matter where you are. You have options of playing decks right now.
It's kind of funny when you play
aggro,
casual and you get someone playing yellow green or super aggro, and you're like, "Why are you playing this in casual?"
Come on now, come on. I was queuing up with some like comb trader thing, and it's just like, yep, you won.
Just to make it clear, just a quick. So yeah, we do agree. Both me and Arun agree that Mythgard is a very well programmed game, good aesthetics, everything good. So we don't, we like the game, but we have to talk this about balance. So it's like a different thing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. So we're going to transition here, and we are going to invite a guest who doesn't play much Mythgard, but is a staple in the history of Mythgard and the Mythgard community and KG Discard, and spends more time thinking about Mythgard and talking about Mythgard than anyone else I know. And that's Arrow.
I love how you try to do hello, Iro.
But not everybody knows who Arrow is, I'm sure, that might be watching, because Arrow hasn't been around the official Discord community now for a couple months. So
I love how you try to make like a dramatic introduction, and at the start of this stream, you already said, "Who are we gonna have as a guest?" Like, don't do that.
Thanks. Arrow, are you here?
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yep. There's Arrow.
Got a stream delay, so sorry, I'm going to be disoriented. Crazy person, or crazier than normal. That's why. How's it going? How's tea time? How's your tea?
It's
My
very
tea's
beery.
good. Tempest is almost done. He needs to break open that bottle of vodka or scotch that's in there. I don't know what he's drinking with his tea, but yeah, something.
I don't know what you're talking about. Terms of service on Twitch require me not to answer that question. I have no idea.
Yeah, Arrow's got to keep his profile because he's got a job where he's got to watch what he says.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So, for those that don't know, I mentioned this earlier. If they joined late, Arrow loves tournaments. Like, Arrow ran so many tournaments throughout the day and has written guides on how to create tournaments. And one of the things that I think attracted Arrow to Mythgard was all the data and the accessibility of data in Mythgard. And so because so many people in KG Discord were playing in the tournament, because Arrow's a really nice person, Arrow went through the entire tournament and created a huge PDF of the top 8, and then also of what happened. Not a PDF, but also gave good data about what happened before. And so people who aren't in KG Discord and you want access to it, you can join the KG Discord that way. It can be salty at times, so we're just going to warn you though. So if you don't, that's a part of the fun of the KG Discord too. So Arrow, I want you to join in and just give some overarching thoughts of what you saw in this tournament.
Yeah, and I mentioned this in the chat already. Ejecti told me not to way too many spoilers. Don't worry, I have surprises. And so one of the things that's really critical is to look at just actual games. And so there's this fascinating problem of YG, where we see a lot of people bringing YG fires, discs, safe house, like all these options. It has way fewer games played than decks that have the same kind of information. In Swiss, it was literally twice as many blue, orange, rainbow games as there were safe house, YG safe house, and YG disc and YG fires. Even though there's the same number of all of these decks, there were more YG decks. So kind of trying to measure, I think this is gonna be a real problem for Rhinos, is they try to look at it and say, oh well, there were only so many number of this card played, so therefore it's not overpowered. Safe house, literally everybody in the top 8, literally everybody who won 5. That penetration, I think there's no way, saturation. There's no way we can ignore that. Sorry, yeah, the cat's attacking me. And this sense of what we can learn from this is just really hard, because we have to try and read this data for what's not there, for what's okay. Here's the cat. Say hi, kitty. That okay. This is more entertaining while I'm talking.
He showed us his pussy.
The sense of what we're going to do with this. I agree with you. I think they're going to be conservative. They don't like to make changes. It took the insane YG problem in the double elimination event to get them to emergency nerf weapon check, right?
Right.
Anything else come out of that?
Yeah. So, we agree YG's not good, not healthy. So I think
it's always fun to play 25 minutes against that deck.
The data showed everybody, all the good players pretty much banned YG, right? And if you didn't ban YG, then you probably didn't do very well. And so that's surprising. But going through your data, one thing that was surprising, and I think this makes you really happy, because when I think of the best disc players out there, you're at the top. Disc did really well for players. What do you think about disc? From the data shows, what enabled disc to do so well? I don't know how to word it, but that was a surprising takeaway from the data.
So the part of the answer here is the same as it always is on ladder, I think, and that is that people who are less confident just won't play disc. It seems like a complicated path. It has a lot of moving parts. It's also the case that, and this came up a lot in the long write-up I did of Boneyard Shuffle, actually, a event, where Madoka really effectively determined that everyone was going to ban his YG spells, and so he did something else more exciting elsewhere. And so disc was a really good tool for using a lot of your powerful green cards, but also having a safe house deck, yellow deck that will draw bans. The YG played by Kitsune was a good version, but Logic's very good version of Purple Necromantic was just actually different and actually interesting. And people had to either ban the safe house or ban that, and they were going to get punished either way. And this kind of separating yellow from green from safe house format seems like that's actually disc is also, so I have a fun game. Do you want to play a game? Can I convince you and Rune to do some trivia? Or you and Tempest to do trivia, excuse me?
Sure.
So
Sure.
if I'm going to ask you, I'm going to present you with 2 cards. I'm going to ask you which one you think had more iterations in the top 8 deck lists. All right, you ready for this?
Yep.
Were there more centering rituals or murmurs?
What? Murmuror?
Or 7-ring ritual, right? 7-ring ritual is my answer to that.
What do you mean? Is more played in the tournament?
Was in the deck list.
In the deck list of the top 8, yeah.
Feels like a trick question, but I'm gonna bite. I would say Murmur.
Murmurs would have been my guess. Actually, there's 7-ring rituals, 6 murmurs. If I'm gonna put up, excuse me here. Let me keep these paired properly. Scylla or Perfect Grade? More of which?
I think Scylla. I think Scylla's more broken in tournament play.
Well, yeah, Scylla because of the majority of red.
Yeah, that was unfortunately an easy one. Scylla was all 8, and I'm gonna give you I think at this point the trivia is to ask you if you can guess what other cards do you think all 8 people brought in at least one deck list. I mean, these are all mythics, so they can only bring one. What cards would you put up in that?
Sapo?
That was correct. Lightning round. Tempest, hit us.
Ritual.
Ritual was
It
a 7.
actually 7 out of 8, which is shocking.
Oak?
Wait, did we?
Oak is good.
Gigantomachia.
Gigantomachia is 100% correct.
Turso.
Is there any others? Like I'm trying. How many more are there?
That I've already tracked. I've only got one more, and I'll give you a hint. It's not red. I don't know if you've noticed the pattern that there are a lot of those red mythics.
Red and yellow to me, right? Red and yellow would be the other guess. I'm trying to think what other yellow, and I would have to think. If you're going yellow, you're probably gonna say Harpy 1, but that can't be right. I don't know.
Why not? Why not?
Harpy 1 is not a bad choice. Magnus is correct. That is not what I had, but Magnus is correct.
Mag Daddy. Yeah.
Harpy 1 is also correct.
I was just expecting some kind of history question or whatever.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is a little dry.
Yeah.
What's the purple I'm thinking of?
What?
If there's one purple mythic that I've tracked that I just knew was going to be in all 8, and I was correct. If you had to guess, which one would you think it is?
Purple mythic.
Purple mythic, all 8 decks.
I mean, perfect grade. What?
Grade is
No.
6. Enough.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what purple would it be? It'd have to be Togsinga, right? It has to be Togsinga.
Yeah,
Togsinga.
Yeah.
It has to be Togsinga.
Yeah.
This sense of kind of I think that we are seeing a pretty interesting level of permutations with people experimenting with different YG control, different and these things. But just looking at these giant mythics that everyone has to bring, like we could watch, Safe House Mirrors RP versus RO, and just like look at who draws Grand Finale. Grand Finale is another one that was actually only 6 of 8. I was kind of charted better wins because it was in Tufaka. It's like I'm really interested in looking at how Rainbow did pretty bad as a path, and it seems like that has something to offer.
I don't think it did pretty bad. It's because everyone plays that stupid orange-blue deck, which I kept saying is a super high roll deck. And it's like, no, it's good. It's good. You just gotta get your team's Bazaar on a turn 7, and then Horn on turn 1, and then you win games. Sure, not high roll. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
The data showed that Rainbow did bad, but yeah, it didn't matter what it was, right? Like there was 3 Rainbow decks in the top 8, I believe, right? There was purple blue, there was blue orange, and there was blue yellow. I don't think anybody made it with blue red. Madoka was on the blue red, but didn't make the top 8. Of those lists, none of them had a good win percentage.
No, the total win percentage of Rainbow was 6 and 13, which is a real problem. But yeah, looking at, I think that just you're playing at this high level. Same thing with RNG getting you mythics or not, or like if they draw the Grand Finale and you don't draw the Gigantomachia or whatever, the Rainbow RNG just really has, yes, thank you, Ejecti, this problem, especially when the in and like this is exactly Logic's point. We have two good paths, and it's Safe House and Disc, or Safe House and Fires were kind of our successful two decks to bring, or like win rate's a very weak metric. But like those were the ones that just did better. I fear that Rainbow is better than your turn, or I think that nobody wanted to play aggro, and I thought that was kind of weird. Or like I don't know what ACC power levels actually look like, because most people don't play aggro and they don't play it well, in my opinion. So like I don't know what we should expect from this, but kind of all we can do to play Rainbow, and that yielded a lot of angst when we just watch somebody draw fewer cards than the other person, right?
Right.
To do with that. I mean, if you're casting it, I don't know what you say, right? Like that's your job, I suppose. But
right. And there were only 2 AAC decks that I believe were bought. And that was a BO AAC and a GP AAC. And both of those I felt like were really weird decks.
The blue orange one was obviously an attempt not to use Rainbow, which is funny, but like that was just completely untested and weird. And there's a Firefly played this on ladder, and so Winged Weasel brought it to the tournament, and it's been seeing some kind of mimetic play this way. It's Burn essentially that has aggressive path that people like to pair with Smite,
Right.
because I guess, and so I'd be curious to see what that looks like, but I don't think it's better than like actual aggro decks, or I think that Spirit Burn has better path, like Disc or Fires.
I feel the spirits are not a good deck at all. They're require many things to happen to them, and they generally run out of cards. And yeah, tier 3 deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tend to agree. Like it has some really good matchups, right? But it also has some really, really bad.
It can like really fail. It's so inconsistent. It's just like
I am really interested in kind of this. If we have multi-deck formats going in the future, like this becomes kind of the issue that Logic is bringing up.
if he's called Logic, why did he bring Head of the Family in the tournament?
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left. We have like 5 or 6 minutes left here. And I kind of wanted to talk about one thing in particular, and that's the future of tournament play. Like we've heard rumors, and I don't know if they're right or wrong, but they're players who are actively pushing for single deck format with sideboard. And I am utterly opposed to that in Mythgard, because of how I feel like the game is so unbalanced, and also because of how tech cards in Mythgard are generally really strong. And so therefore like sideboards like makes multiple archetype of decks impossible. And so either you have to alter tech cards greatly, in my opinion, to make them harder to play in splashable colors, or I don't even know.
No, yeah, that's true. It's just like awful. For Mythgard, sideboarding sounds like a really bad idea.
Like
I
this
would
tournament
be against that.
This tournament, if it was single deck sideboard, it would have been, I'm guessing, 90% YG. Right?
I would think so.
Maybe you'd have somebody bring a purple, like throw it in there, right? Something like that for their sideboard or whatever.
What do you think about the fact that we have to bring 3 decks, with those limitations that we have, and one is banned? I kind of feel like Mythgard is not as large, let's put it like that, as some other stuff. So I think like 2 decks should probably, without a ban, should probably make more sense.
I like the 3 decks. I would like what I think KG tried once, and Arrow can speak more to this in a second. I'll shut up. Is 3 decks springing, no bans. I think that gives you the greatest variation of decks, and makes the more interesting decisions, personally. So,
yeah, and I think that like banning, I mean, saying that YG is okay because everyone's just going to ban it is
yeah, great.
a very convincing argument, right? Like I don't think that's actually a good thing. I think that you're just correct that single deck with sideboard like, are people really going to argue that like RP Safe House is better than YG Safe House, and like that's like your counter pick, the same kind of deck but with slightly different mythic tools? Like, I don't know. That feels like a pretty bad argument to me. And this, right, like the only kind of mitigating, if the only mitigating factor for YG is that you can ban it and you can try to like aggro it with YP, I don't know, YP aggro or whatever. Like that's, I guess that's something that still indicates you need to balance this, but that means that sideboards are going to, like, then you just side in Venom Fang or whatever answers that yellow and green have, which is most of them. And that's the ball game. Like, I think they should try it like at least once. I'm very big on experimental data. I will 100% create data tables on that, and I'll let you know exactly how saturated. But I think that one of the only things, this is what we determined at KG when I was running a lot of tests and when we were doing these things, is that the only thing that was really preventing incidents like the double elimination tournament were multi-deck formats, like just requiring them to win. We tried last standing because bans were mandatory. And I think Conquest with bans, Logic has pointed this out more than once, that one of the interesting problems with Conquest plus bans is that you pick your first deck, they pick their first deck. If they beat you and then you try to switch to your counter deck, you won't see the deck that you're countering ever again, right? So like theoretically, last deck standing should be better with bans because it gives you a chance to beat their deck with your counter deck, right? If there's not kind of meaningful counterplay though in that way, it's not really clear what that looks like or what we should be doing with these formats. And so we experimented with a variety of things and determined that the only choice we had was just to make people win with more than one deck. That was the only thing that actually gave us a fun kind of deck diversity in top eights and in tournaments and things like that. And so I look forward to them trying it just so I can again rip the data, but I think we're going to be having the same conversation with even narrower margins. It's not going to be who brought the best safe outs. It's going to be which niche myth was the best sideboard card, right? And like that's the difference between Garen and Logic or whomever. Or I'm very, very cynical about that. And I think that you've already mentioned this. Both of you have mentioned that like the burn format is your sideboard, right? Like the mechanics of the game letting you play cards that you don't want to see every game and that not like tanking you. That's what sideboards are supposed to do in a lot of our competitive reasoning. So I'm very how do we say, I'm worried that it'll be a lot like the YG double elimination fiasco that if you were there, you remember quite well what that was like. And
Tempest was there. Tempest went 0-2 and had to sit around for like 6 hours because he had 5 buys, I think. So, you know.
Yeah, but we had people who, yeah, they dropped from the lower bracket because they've had 5 buys in a row, and that could be fixed with some like that was a different kind of problem to them.
That was a whole different problem. Like double elimination system.
I don't, for a game that's worried about minute matches like YG mirrors all day, it just sounds like a absolute nightmare. And I don't even remember like the tiebreakers. You just get a tie, is that right? Like, are we just gonna have to do like tiebreakers on ties if everybody goes to time in YG mirrors, or like?
Pretty when you get a tie. There's like 2 circles and there's lights. So cool.
It's the prettiest art.
I do like that. I do. I agree. So that's kind of. I'm curious about this, and I'll be happy to do more. Join KG Discord, and we'll absolutely talk it out. And I don't mind doing more stuff. Like I want people to come to me and be like, "Hey, just Control F in the Word file and find this mythic and how many there were." And like I'll do that for Swiss or top 8. I'll do that for whatever. And we're just happy to. I'm just happy to put some data together. You know, like it's just relaxing.
Say hi to Aero. He'll make some data.
Hey,
Aero, do you when you watch movies, do you make data about them?
No, it's funny you should say that because I mostly just always go to specific literature about this. I always read Roger Ebert's reviews, see what this critic had to say, and it usually means something to me. The most recent one was the movie Hackers. If you want to talk about movie Hackers, also come to KG Discord. That's what happened today. Like, no, you can learn all about it. You can so much.
That movie is zero cool.
Wow. Anyway, I think our time is about up, so I want to give some last thoughts real quick. 60 seconds to each person. I don't really have much to say other than I'm really looking forward to the balance patch coming forward. I hope it does alter some of my things about my feelings about the game, and I hope it continues to push it in a better direction. And thanks, Arrow, for joining us, and thanks for, keeping all of your interest in a game that you aren't actively playing. But I will say, just to say, Arrow did beat the 2v2 event that came out with the crazy 250 health, and so Arrow had mastered that. Yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I don't even need 60 seconds. I'll just say, like, let's everybody play disc. KG, I'll help you build disc decks. We'll do disc. We'll read the article. Like, we'll run disc clinics, whatever you need. Just try, like, really try disc.
Tempest, final word.
I was thinking of maybe intensely staring at the chat for 60 seconds. How about we do that?
Are you having some intimacy issues, Tempest? Is that what's going on here? Like, it's been locked down so much, no dates, so you just need to stare at the screen and hope that somebody stares back in your eyes.
It's funny you should say that. When I was out like 3 days ago, I was like a tourist in my own city. I was just like, if I went to, I don't know, London or whatever, it's just, oh wow, look at this. I don't remember this. I just like looking at everything. It's like everything's new. There's the sun. Holy, it's shining.
And on that note, thanks again, Sarah. Thanks again, Tempest. Stick around. The giveaway will start after this is over. And thanks, Objecti, for everything you do.
Can I just ask here one question before
Okay.
Here, what's the best Powerpuff Girl?
Probably Bubbles. Like, everybody's so serious, and like the world is too serious. We just have to have like like lighten the mood.
Correct.
Yeah, good. I'm so glad I passed this quiz. I'm looking at my GPA.
Okay, that's it, I guess, right? Are we done?
Bye.
Bye.
Tea time with Runepest.